Hello, good day. Oh, I just realized I'm not using high definition webcam, but okay, let's keep with that. I'll feature in this session. But welcome everyone. Welcome to the Out of the Box Developer. It is the second session of the year, and yeah, I hope you are excited to discuss with us and our specialists here. If you want to become an AI developer, what is the skills? What is the problems that the challenge that you will face, and yeah, what kind of problem that you will solve for and to become one. So for this special topic, I think I have the best person to actually ask questions, and he is a Java champion. He is an AI specialist and consultant. So I'm excited here as well to ask and hear a lot from him. Let me call Mani Sarkar to the stage. Hey Mani, how are you?
Hey Hugo, I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me here today.
Thanks Mani for being here and contributing this discussion. I think you'll be the a core person today to actually answer all those questions.
It looks like from the title, I did not know that was going to be the title till I recently saw it. So thank you for putting that subject in focus.
Great. And yeah, if anyone here watching us have any questions, please post in the chat. It will be the best way to contribute here, and we can answer your questions. We can address it, and it will become much more interesting for everyone. So, and I also want to bring another friend, our friends here, to contribute this discussion. He's also an architect, a manager, and Java specialist, and also now Python specialist. So I want to bring Pedro Cavallero here with us. Hey, Pedro.
Hello, Hugo. Hello, Manny.
Hello.
How are you? So thank you for inviting me here. And yeah, this is a fun, very interesting topic. And I have some questions to Manny how about it because when we think about being AI specialist, there is so few people that we can ask, right? So let's wait for today.
Great. And great. And I think before jumping to how to become an AI developer, I think it's interesting to actually discuss a little bit here. Why is it so in high demand? I see recently this week there has been a lot of layoff news of these big tech companies, and many of our friends was in this middle. And at Google, at least, one of the only one department that haven't suffered by this layoff process was the AI department from them. So I understand. I believe that there is a big reason why there is such they see such importance in this field, right? I think I don't know, Pedro, Mani, if you want to talk a little bit about what brings AI in the center of all these IT market movements.
So there are cycles, and there are. It's. Have you seen Gartner has published a very nice diagram that works very well for how things evolve, especially in the technology field, and I'll share that later on. But there's also, and I give this example all the time, is if you look at the Dow Jones index, the stock market, it's been going on for over 200 years. But if you look at the index, it has been always going in waves. Like it looks like it has crashed, but it has risen up again, crashed, right? But if you look at the microscopic view, it looks like it has gone down, and people say, "Oh, the market's gone down." Then the market goes up. But if you really take the 200 years view, or maybe even if slightly less than that, but anywhere between 100 and 200 years view, you see there's always going an uptrend. or the trend is upwards. But there's always cycles in it. And every cycle is different from the previous cycle, and no two cycles are the same, and no cycles of ups and downs. If you take the the troughs and crests of the cycle, no two of them of the same size and has happened for the same reasons. I mean, they always try to compare and say, oh, it happened 20 years ago, 50, but it's never the same. You can never compare them so correctly, accurately. This, what we are facing now, the layoffs, also happened in year 2000. I think some of you may know, in 2008, and then 2010. And so there are big and small cycles, and these things happen. And at least from the technology industry, which I understand a little bit as compared to all the other industries, these cycles happen. And if you know, in the year 2000, there was a small period of recession. There were layoffs. But then when we hit real recession, they were actually hiring a lot of IT people. Why? Because during recession time, you improvise, you make things more efficient, right? So you need more IT people. You want to, there are companies who have got pockets of money, they want to capture the market, right? And then there are ones who are struggling, they'll be the ones who may be laying off and shrinking and reducing their balance sheet. So there's so many factors to it. A lot of it is economic, but a lot of it is business and strategic as well. But then there's also, so it's not like every cycle means layoffs of certain types and hiring of certain types. Like, in the last 2 years in the pandemic, a lot of IT people were hired. And actually, in this cycle that we're going through now, a lot of those hires are now being reversed, right? Because what's happening is, businesses are changing, strategy is changing, economy is changing, right? The outlook is changing. Now, coming specifically to that, why the AI department, did not suffer, is because in the last 2 years, and even maybe a little bit less in the last 5 years, but since some time, I mean, IT people are really hard to find. Good IT people are really hard to find, that everybody knows, right? But within that, the AI is a smaller subset. They are even harder to find, right? The industry only produces so many number of IT people in the world, but it produces an even smaller number of data scientists, machine learning people, AI scientists, and a lot of them have actually may go to the research and academia side, but then you have only a certain percentage left for the business world. And you can't just create, just like you just can't create good developers, which we already talked about 2 weeks ago in the last session. You just can't create a good AI specialist just like that. It's a lot of rigor the individual has to go through to make them become an AI specialist. So now, if companies like, you mentioned Google, but you can name all the top 50 or 100 or 500 or 10 million companies in the world. If they've invested a lot of money in this specific subject, simply because, look at it like this, right? The year 2000 was a quantum leap for what? Web. At that time, e-commerce, web, everybody wanted to go on the web. Websites, people were paying $1 million to get a website, right? Today, you can get $10 for $10 a month. You can get a website on Wix. I'll give you one example. So today, the web is no longer a quantum leap, but in 2000, year 2000, it was around that time, right? So, and then in 2010, it was something else. In 2020 and thereabouts, that's when the data science, machine learning started becoming even more prominent. It was in the previous past as well, but people started noticing that now, to get the what's the right word for that, the competitive edge over their competitors, and to get bigger market shares and get more efficient and all that good stuff, and create a flat playing ground, they need a competitive edge. Data science, machine learning, AI, you name it, is the competitive edge. So for the ones who have that, they are leading much first in the market. Let's take a very good example. We had a lot of sessions, at least couple of sessions on chat GPT, but we've been talking about it every other session. There is a lot of rumor out there that if chat GPT really becomes more efficient, it can blow certain companies that do search out of the water, right? No. So can you see that the quantum leap, it changes the whole playing field. Yesterday's giants can become miniatures in today's time if you don't have the competitive edge. ChatGPT, the makers, they have created unknowingly or maybe knowingly. Their purpose was not to commercialize, right? They just kept experimenting and they started getting better. But now they can commercialize it because they see so much value in it. But the thing is, all the AI and machine learning people that have been invested in it, they have been responsible for the quantum leap. So that is what I am, at least I'm seeing, and I don't know if everybody else agrees with me on that. That's what's happening. And for those who are ahead or on time for that race, they will survive for the next quantum leap. For those who are not, like the brick and mortar companies like Barnes and Nobles, and all the brick and mortar shops that were selling things, if they didn't go online, they were all out of business in like a decade, less than 5 years time. If your size is big, it'll take you a little bit longer. If your size is small, you're gone. Same thing happened during the pandemic. If you did not specialize and adapt to the situations of the pandemic, you struggled, and a lot of people went out of business, right? And things like that. So if you take all of that into the equation, why would you, after going through so much pain, putting through together your core creme de la creme of the industry into one department all across the world and building like super cool stuff, why would you suddenly, just because there's uncertainty in the market, why you would disinvest in other areas of your business just to protect the area of your business, which is your golden goose, right? The goose that lays the golden egg, right? You're not going to kill the goose that lays the golden egg, right? Just because there's more golden eggs in it. No. So that's the kind of long-winded answer to this question, and I hopefully cover it in from different angles. Why the IT department was not affected. Now, see, I'm not saying all that I'm said is the right answer. There might be other reasons as well, but I think there must be some element of truth if you both agree, and hopefully the audience as well, that this happened is maybe for this reason. I'm not saying definitively, but it sounds like it is for this reason. Given that everything that's happening around us, right? Giving all the developments that we are already noticing in the technology field. And companies like Google, they are forward thinking, right? They're already 5 and 10 years ahead of everybody else's game. So they wouldn't be, if they're investing something for 5 and 10 years, they wouldn't just, because how long is this downturn going to be? It's not going to be there for another couple of years, maybe. After that, the economy will shoot back up again, right? So they can survive for those 2-3 years. And then when the outlook is up, then they're flying up really quickly. So that's my answer to it. I don't know if you want to add anything to it. I'm sure there's lots of gaps and other perspectives to it, but I'll pass it on to both of you to comment on it.
Yeah, I think before passing the word for Pedro, I just want to say hello to Marcelo Araújo. Hey, Marcelo, Davi Antonio as well wrote here. Good evening. Money is the man, so you have a fun. Hey, Money. and Max also.
Hey, Maxi, how are you doing?
Hello, Max. Yeah, I think Yogo has frozen.
Yeah.
Let me try to add something, because I think your answer was fantastic on this. Like the reading the context here is really important, right? Because for example, in our case, for example, when we are feeling all these layoffs, we may feel like, oh, but my company is having like is not having any money issues, for example, or they are even growing, but they are doing layoffs, right? And of course, it's difficult to understand like that these companies need to read the context, need to read the market, and see the future and say, oh, the future shows us that this growing may not continue. And they try, and all the money investors is saying that, all the venture capitals is saying that, all the marketing say, oh, we are seeing some recession in the horizon, so the winter is coming, so let everybody take care of your houses, So I know that's sometimes it's difficult to understand that, but and the other thing you said, it's really important. I think many after the pandemic, many hires haven't occurred, and then sometimes some companies may be bloated, and needs to be shrinked. But what I see is not that the people are getting unemployed for so long. At all these people most are very good engineers and very good on their fields, and they are. Hello, hey Hugo, are you back?
Hey, Hugo's back.
Hey,
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
yeah,
well?
Yes, yes, we can hear you well. Yeah, continue.
Good.
Please continue.
Go ahead.
no
Teddy.
problem. Well,
Pedro.
oh, and then my and then we can see that all these people are being reorganized. I think the market is being reorganized. You know, like that there were many smaller companies that needed good engineer that could and they were not available. You know, I think all this market is being rebalanced today. That's just my opinion. And but I don't know how is this for the AI part. I just heard about like Amazon is laying off all these guys uh, for Alexa, and Google laying off guys for Google Home, Google Assistant, you know, and but I don't know exactly how for the AI developer, the AI part of these companies, how it's been. Do you know more about it, Manny? Like it's how is the market today, but for specific AI developers?
So it's hard to say, but the companies who, like, for example, companies who can experiment and afford to have failures in the experiments, they will disband the experiment, right? But the people who are behind the creations of the experiments, they are still valuable to them, right? Just because an experiment has gone wrong doesn't mean the scientists behind the experiment are not good enough. It could be so many factors affecting the experiment, right? We also know the technology is quite is not as mature. Like year 2000, what kind of websites did you have? In 2010, what kind of websites do you have? What you have now is like way blazing fast and better and sophisticated than compared to what you have, and then the cost and efficiency is also very high, right? So think of us, the AI journey, think of it as year 2000, right? Lots of failures, lots of companies who are trying to build websites for people who have gone bust, lots of startups that are doing that in the .com, like 90% of the .com vanished. So you have that AI cycle as well. And companies like whoever those companies are, I don't want to mention them, if their experiments have failed, then they're kind of regrouping to come up with a new strategy, right? As opposed to like disbanding the people that they spend so much money on, because they know the people are invaluable. It's just the idea that they had needed improvement, and also there's a less maturity in both the people, the market, and as well the product and the technology that they're using to create the product, right? So they will probably go and give a second shot, and that probably might be a better one. And by then the industry will mature even more. Like, for example, there was no chat GPT a year or two ago, right? There was like GPT, but not in the same shape as it is now. And imagine a year from now what you're going to have. They're already talking about chat GPT 5, and they already know how many trillion parameters it's going to be taking. And so imagine if that's the case, what is its abilities, right? So the people behind those experiments, they will reconvene and regroup to come up with something new. So hence, if you hear the layoffs, like also a lot of times it's layoffs that are happening are a lot of times is non-tech departments as opposed to the tech, because the people who really do the work, they are really hard to find, train, keep them, right? We already had this discussion last time. So, and a lot of these companies spend a lot of time and money in recruiting and putting people together, then training them and then keeping them. They're also paying them high salaries. So if you put all of those numbers together, and they're also valuable people, right? They're very smart people and they know what they're doing. And if you guide them properly, they'll come up with some great ideas. And then that might be more successful than the previous one, right? That's what a scientist is about, right? Experiment, experiment, experiment. One of those experiments is going to hit off. Like a good example is Edison and the bulb, right? So that's my view on what you just asked me.
And yeah, one thing that I can add here. Sorry, I had a power issue here, and the energies went down, and I'm back now. But about market, I work close to the people that works with AI and optimization problems, and one big challenge that they face in the market is that uh, current customers that want those kind of solutions, AI solutions, is that experimentation part that most of them want to have the exact result and exact return over investment, and they are not willing so much to have this experiment that might not give the result that they expect, because yeah, this is a difficult part about aligning expectations over this kind of project, right? But still have a huge demand over people that can actually create those models. It is as Mani said, it is another level of deep understanding about those models, how to use. And I actually had the opportunity to talk with some of my co-workers, and one thing that they raised here as a challenge for these kind of problems that AI uses, not just the models and the algorithms that we can use, but also understanding the business part that is most important, because this is where you actually can get valuable insights and so on. So that is real. And I think that's maybe a difficult part, because nowadays we have this requirement that it's not just creating or developing something. You have to develop something and add these business rules to give some purpose for that solution. So you have to understand both parts. It was a challenge here in IT solutions in developing systems, but also I think more deeper challenge when we talk about AI, when we have to create models that actually solve uh, something in some context. I don't know if what Mani have about it, but I believe that it's really true when we have to think about mixing business and technology or techniques to actually give some purpose for the solution.
Yeah, I think it's a big challenge, and it's the same challenge as we had with technology and business, and we're constantly having. And that is also that differentiates a good engineer and a good technical company, a good technical team, or a good team from an average and a less performing team, right? Because the good team knows what drives the pulse, right? Which means where is the business going? What are we doing this for? We're doing this to solve a business problem. What is the business problem? The business problem is so and so. How do we solve the business problem? Do we need this to be checked for? Do we need that to be checked for? Does this help the business problem? Are we really cracking the business problem with doing this? Can we make it efficient? Whereas all the other flavors and shades of the teams may think less and less of those things, and maybe deviating away from the actual goal, right? So that's kind of what has is the differentiator, isn't it? That's what makes a challenge worthwhile as opposed to it being challenging, right? There's a difference between the two, right? Depends, you take the challenge as a worthwhile experience, or you feel it's really challenging, it's weighing down on me.
Let me just grab this moment to call our main guest here that just arrived to contribute in our discussion. So I want to say hello to Bruno. Hey Bruno, how are you, man?
Hey, such an awesome group here as always, right? So, how are you doing, Hugo? Good to see you here. Hey, Pedro, how are you? Hey, Money, good to see all of you guys. So awesome.
Great to
Thank you,
see you,
Bruno, and
Bruno.
great to see you here.
Yes, it's always good to be here. Look, I love those conversations, right? I think that the more we're able to talk, the more we're able to discuss things, the more clarity we have. What's worthwhile, what's not worthwhile, and because everyone has a different need in their careers, everyone's going a different direction. So it's always good to have like a conversation, right? So I just love this group here. And you're the watching us, right? It's great to have you here. Don't forget to send your questions, your comments. We're always here for you.
Exactly, and there, Bruno, just to grab you into the context here, we are starting the discussion actually about how to become an AI machine learning developer. And before starting this discussion of how to become, I just dropped another question, that is, why actually today this role or this field is in so high demand, right? We have been the ChatGPT things that was recently released, and everyone was in a big hype there, and really it's really cool to be ourselves here. We were playing a bit with the ChatGPT and the DALL-E and other tools created by AI, using AI techniques behind. We are throwing a lot of questions to Manny because he is the AI guy here. So I don't know if you have anything that you want to ask or add here. Would be always
Money's our top specialist, right? But the way I see is that we've been discussing AI, we've been talking about AI for many, many, many years, right? Decades, really, right? That this whole discussion has been, and I think as every technology, right? There's a lot of need of things to be, to be solved and problems to be discussed. There was a big need for us to have a lot of data. Without a lot of data, it's very hard for us to have AI. And having a lot of data, we need to have a lot of processing power so we could actually make sense of this data, right? And so then processing became cheaper, storage became cheaper, and then the cloud came up, right? And so now you can actually have access to those things, right? Because when I started just a few years ago, right, when I was working for Sun, if you wanted to have some processing power, you would buy a Sun machine, right? And then 4 processors, and then 8 processors, right? And then you get all the way to the big Sun machines that had like huge walls of processors and all that. And it was very cool for me because I had all those machines that are available at the office, and I could do things, right? But if you wanted to do something in your house as a developer in a company, right, you had to have all that budget, right, to actually get those machines, right? And it was not easy, man. You want a machine like this, you would have, even if you had the money, they're not available to deliver to you next day, right? So they would take 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, right? Really, right? To get machines like this, especially here in Brazil, they had to go to customs, and you had all this import process that was really complicated, and it took a lot of time. And so really, how can you actually deal with all those big informations in a world like that, right? So then cloud computing came along, and then you want processing, it's there, right? You want lots of data, it's there, right? You want access to a lot of information. I mean, there's a lot of data sets that are just available, right? For you there. Like many years ago, when I first started working with Amazon, one of the very cool things that when Amazon launched it, was we having all this Amazon storage. It was really hard to work with, and then Amazon released the block storage, right? They could just kind of connect the block storage to your machine, and you would have like a normal disk, right? And that was cool. But for me, the thing that I said, man, this is going to revolutionize the world, right? It's because Amazon had those pre-built storages, right, with data, right? So you had, for example, all of Wikipedia in a disk, right? All the census data for the last thousands, I don't know how long, right? So last many years in the US, right? All the sensor data so they're all there, right? So you click a button and you have a machine with all that data there for you, right? And so it's like then things start becoming possible, right? Now things, and you don't need to make all the effort to make those things reality. And then suddenly AI start moving in leaps and bounds, right? And everyone's talking about Chat GPT, but we are just discussing this the other day. We've played around with at least 100 different tools, right? AI tools to build a logo, to build video, to build your code and chat and absolutely everything. There's some AI tool that tries to do that for you, right? And they might have better or worse success or something like this. I just yesterday, my daughter works with, she works with producing movies, right? And so, and one of the things that she does for me whenever she has time, she kind of creates images for me and creates she's the one that creates the covers of my books and things like that. So, so I was talking with her yesterday, and I was showing her some of the new things about the new algorithms to create images on AI, and she's like, "Man, this is so cool, right?" So it's like because it is, right? It's awesome, right? We see those kind of things, like makes our lives so much easier. It's make what we're doing so much easier. So I think that right now we're seeing a boom, right? But what I believe in, Money, I'm going to pass to Money now. Maybe you can correct me, Money. But what I'm seeing is that we are in the first moments where AI is blossoming, right? When we start to see the usage of it, right? We're starting. I know there's lots of people that use AI for a long time. There's lots of people who are using AI for lots of times. But now the real people, right? Us, right? We have firsthand experience with the power of it. And so this is just starting, right? In the next 10 years, we have no idea what's going to happen, right? That's my view of this.
No, I think spot on, Bruno. And I have said this in another different way. So just a couple of weeks ago, I was having discussions with my colleagues, that I work with, and they were like all bringing up the same questions. Like we have already had this discussion in our previous sessions, right? Oh, Chat GPT is here. What do you think is going to happen to our jobs as developers or as IT people? Chat GPT can do so many things, can answer all my questions, la la la. And I kept telling them the same example that computers were introduced in 1980 and even earlier than that in some places, and people were fearing, oh, it's going to take away our jobs. But look at what it has done to the industry, right? It has flourished with so many jobs. And then I brought them to the point that just like in the year 2000, we had a quantum leap with all the web stuff and all the e-commerce stuff that we are doing. And look now, looking back 20 years, where have we come from that quantum leap? That quantum leap has taken us to the next point where we are going to do another quantum leap, right? So that's where the Chat GPT thing is going to be the second quantum leap. The Chat GPT, like AI technologies, like you also have diffusion models where you pass in text and it creates images. But there are so many other things that we don't know of yet that in the mainstream, right? We only know of what we see in the mainstream. Imagine if this is what's happening in the mainstream, what have people developed behind closed doors for their own commercial advantage, right?
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
political advantage. And
Yeah.
so you're spot on when you're saying flourishing and blossoming. That for me is the next quantum leap, because we in the IT industry are always taking quantum leaps, right? For example, the Moore's law with processors, right? Every so many months we double the processing power, and actually after a n number of months we actually have a quantum leap. I remember my first computer that I came across was only 12 hertz, and there was a turbo button. If you pressed it, it was 15 hertz, right? And now we have gigahertz. Yeah, your mobile phone has got gigahertz, right? Forget about the big bulky desktop we were talking about, and this is only 25 years ago, right? So if that is the case, then you're right. And AI has always been there. It's had different names. Like, Eliza was the very first example that the MIT lab produced, which we have been working on integrating in our chat conversation project, which we will share a little bit later about. And that is, well, when was it 1970s, 1980s? I think around that time they had developed it. And since then there have been lots of books written in theory, and they were all mainly theoretical stuff. In fact, there's a lot of theoretical stuff still to be explored. But you're right, with the availability of technology and access to data and the speed and at the cost at which we are not able to do it, it has now become possible since the last so many years to be able to actually materialize all the AI stuff that we've been only talking about in the universities and on books and in magazines and dreaming about them, to actually make them happen in real. And this, I don't know since when, but maybe in the last 10 years this has all been happening, because in the last 10 years there was democratization of so many things, right? Data, machines, software, you name it, internet, everything is available, and at the speed and at the time at which, and the freedom under which we could get this is mind-blowing. We could never think of it when I started my career 25 years ago, that we could do all of the, like creating a machine on the cloud in seconds, and that costs you like maybe cents, because you can destroy that machine and not use it anymore after you finished your work, and it'll only cost you like few cents or a pound max. Whereas, I remember spending a whole lot of money to just get myself a desktop computer 20 years ago, right? So, and that was hardly doing anything. And if I had to upgrade it, I had to spend some more money. Whereas on the cloud, you can upgrade and do whatever. It'll cost you only a few more cents. So you're spot on about that. And you're saying 10 years from now, I think you want to talk in terms of months, not years, because the rate at which it is speeding up, it's not years, it's months.
Yeah, I just
10
think
months
that,
from now. Just say
yeah,
10 months from
I
now.
just think that if we have no idea what's going to be 10 years from now. It's completely, we just think about 10 years ago, right? I don't think we knew where we would be in terms of computers, in terms of technology, in terms of microservices, for example. I don't think most people even thought about that 10 years ago, right? And so I think 10 years ago I was helping people do version control systems and issue trackers, right? And continuous integration. I mean, that's my some of my first videos of the I had a project they're called the New Year New Project that I used to do in the turn of the year, right? And that was less than 10 years ago, right? And that was helping people, right? Just kind of get learn cloud, right? Understand the first beginning of the cloud and understanding how to do continuous integration. And today, you can't think of any software development. I mean, I'm just seeing here in the chat, Hugo is already putting a GitHub link here that you guys are going to talk about in a minute. And it's like you can't even think about getting a group of 3 people together and that you're not using a version control, right? So that was just 10 years ago. I remember being in a project where there was no obligation to use version control, right? And
Absolutely.
people complain about it, right? It's like, why, right? And so the way they use the version control is that they have version control in the mainframe. I'm not talking about hundreds of years. I mean, just kind of 10 years ago, right? So they had the version control in the mainframe. So that's how they did it, right? So there was an obligation. They had to check a box, right? So the very first day of the project, they would go and commit something to the mainframe. And okay, so now we have a version there. And so they would just go do whatever they wanted. And so when the project was finished, they would just go and commit another version. And so that's check, right? So and then, that's unthinkable of a developer today. But people that have been here a little bit. So imagine 10 years from now, right? We can't. There's no way we cannot imagine what's going to happen 10 years from now. But I agree with you, Manny. That's the things are growing so fast in terms of months that sometimes is scary, right? And I think that's a good question, right? Should we be scared? I'm not talking about being scared of of AI replacing us. I don't think that we should be scared for that. I think
Absolutely.
we already talked about so much about it. That's not my question, but should we be scared? Because I'll tell you one thing. I've been helping developers with their careers for many, many years, but there's one question that I get that's continuously since I started. Since I started 20 something years ago, I started helping people with their careers, right? I get the same questions that how can I keep up? How can I learn everything? How can I even keep up with what's going on, right? So, and now it seems that things are accelerating. And so I think, should we be worried about that? Should we be worried about keeping up? I think that is the question that I ask myself all the time. How much developers should be worried about that?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question.
And I think that's connected to the topic of today. That for those people that want to become an AI ML specialist and want to grab this opportunity that is now it's blossoming, a lot of AI opportunities. How actually they can connect with those opportunities, right? I think it's interesting to have focus, because when actually, like I'm much more focused on architecture, on system architecture, on application architecture than AI. I have some connections with those kind of problems because I actually create application and solutions connected with those kind of solutions, of data science solutions. So, but I'm not a specialist of AI specialist in the group. I'm a specialist on one or other things. But those people that want to become or migrate to an AI specialist, how they actually what they actually need to do. I think that's one of the question that we want to answer here. I don't know if Mari, Pedro, Bruno, do you have any answer for that?
I'll have Bruno take a jab at it.
Me?
Yeah, why not?
I'm
Come
not.
on.
Okay, so I'm as far as an AI specialist I can be, right? So, but so I'm gonna give the generic answer, I guess, right? Because I think that there's only one way that we can really become good at something, right? And it's doing it, right? There's no other way, right? We got to go and do it. And I think that, again, I think that the way we have today. So let's just kind of do a parenthesis here. So on Monday, right, just this next Monday, I'm going to be hosting a live with the guys from Oracle, where where Oracle, they're going to walk people through a hands-on lab, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we're going to do there is use all the tools on the cloud, right, on Oracle Cloud. Use all the knowledge for you to do things, data science and databases and create models, all that, to model data from the Premier League, right, the soccer championship, right, from Europe. So basically, this kind of things, I love to be part of something like this, because it's actually learning by doing, right, and by doing something real, because the way I see, and I like to think that in sports, for example, right, we need to practice, right? That's what we need to do. We need to practice things, but a lot of those things, man, it's not, those are soft skills, right? Solving problems is a soft skill. Soft development is a soft skill, and you can't learn soft skill by practicing, right? The way you practice those things is by doing real world things in a safe environment, right? And so that's funny, because I'm not even like a big fan of soccer, right? But really, that's what I see. You got a soccer player, right? And they don't go to practice just to be kicking the ball, right? I mean, they go and play, right? you know, and they play for real. You know, it's a real game, right? But it's just in a safe environment, right? So they're playing among themselves, and they're playing with other teams, right? Yeah, money is hit on me here, right? You know, I live in Brazil, not a fan of soccer. No, I'm okay fan. It's not a big fan. I don't, you know. But anyway, I'm just saying that I love the way the soccer player behaves, right? When they behave properly in practice and things like that, right? So you know, it's the whole idea of you got to do it for real, right? So and people don't realize how important it is. The games that you know is just like I don't know, we call amistosos in Portuguese. I'm not sure how they're named in English, right? The games are just kind of, it's just a playful game among teams, right? It's not worth anything for the championship. But those games are amazingly important for both teams, right? Because they have to play for real, right? And so that's the way I think you should learn artificial intelligence, kind of doing things for real, right? So I'm going to run this hands-on lab on Monday. We're going to get real data and get real results out of those data in a safe environment, right? You know, and then you could do that the same thing, right? You could get real data from anything and play around with it, do something with that, right? You know, just get whatever information you want, get a wrong information out of it. Doesn't matter, right? Just do something for you to understand what it is, how it works, and then that should give. Once you have a little bit of experience, once you've done one thing, then it's a lot easier for you to go back to your work and think, okay, what if I added artificial intelligence to my project today, right? What if my company added a little bit of artificial intelligence? And let me give an example, a parallel here. Many years ago, when the network was just starting, right? Because, you know, I was working for Sun, and Sun had this idea, the network is the computer. But when I started, we had to install TCP/IP boards on computers, right? Because they did not come with an Ethernet port, right? So the network was always a second thought. Just not when you build a software, you do not think about the computer to be connected to the network, right? You thought about that's a, you know, it's the exception. Being connected to the network is an exception. It's not the rule, right? So people would do software to just run in one computer, right? But I would tell everyone, I would tell students and say, look, the network's going to be extremely important, right? So you have to think about what would you do if your computer is connected to the network, if your software uses the network, if the network was a given, what would you do? And that helps you think about the possibilities, right? And so that's the same thing right now. You know, right now you're writing some software, and everything that your software do, you code on it, right? But now you have to start thinking about what if there is a piece of intelligence in my code, that my code can do something by itself that I don't have to program, right? What would I do different? What could I add, right? And it doesn't need to be something visible for the user, right? It could be, you know, you could route the network package differently because you're analyzing the package and you're just making decisions on the fly, right? You know, maybe you could clean up the sounds automatically because it just makes sense. I don't know, right? Just think about if you could, if magically there's some part of your application that could be smart, that could decide things by itself, what would that be? And then make an experiment, right? So that's what I would do if I wanted to be an expert in artificial intelligence.
Great. So you see, the reason I have, and it doesn't really matter whether Bruno answers first or Bruno answers last. The answer is always unbeatable, right? So it's not like I'm trying to give him the first chance to like give a better answer, but he's already said all the things that is absolutely practical. And whatever I'm going to say is going to hopefully fit the second layer and fill in the you know the
technical details.
Yeah, exactly. Because what Bruno has done, he's created the mesh for me, like, you know, the mesh you need to create the real thing. Mm-hmm. And all I need to do is fill in the exact details. So this is what I have been doing. My journey to become an AI developer has been so since 2017, have been freelancing, and I've been working with clients and mostly startups. And when you work with startups, the advantage is you get to do cutting edge stuff. Some of them are well funded, some of them are not, but they all want to do new stuff. And so in the process, I learned that some of my clients would do projects that they would not include me in because I did not have the AI skills. They would have other data and machine learning and AI people do it. So I said, why is that? That's my market share going away, right? I want to do the whole project. I mean, I got to think in terms of business as well when I'm doing freelancing,
Right.
because why do 1/4 of a project when you can do half of it? And so then I put myself to the rigor. I joined up all the meetups in the world that I could attend in the city of London after my freelancing gigs every day. I would do weekend meetups as well, and I signed up to multiple workshops and multiple study groups. They would all happen on different days, usually once a week, right? And then I signed up to Kaggle, and I started. That's exactly an example of what Bruno just said. Any data, even if it's wrong, just do it, because eventually you develop the intuition. Those wrong things I did needs to be done correctly, like that. That was wrong data. I processed it incorrectly, because you're also machine learning and training yourself by learning how to do machine learning. And I did everything practical and hands-on as possible. I always get into discussions with a lot of people in various forums where they say, oh, read this book, do this course with so and so, and this is all full of theory and all that stuff. But at the end of the course, they only know theory, and I ask them, if you have to build something, what are you going to build? They don't know how to build anything. So then I put up a GitHub repository where I would collect all these examples. I would write my own examples, I would publish them, and I would collaborate with lots of other people. And then they would go and use my solutions. And then my library was built from that. They would use my solutions, say, oh, it's very slow. Then I would go back and speed it up. Oh, it's really fast, really cool. So I put myself to the experiment, just like what Bruno has been saying, in every way I could possibly do, by contacting and then you meet a lot of people who are already ahead of you in this game. Then your learning becomes really, really fast. Because if you want to learn, join places where you don't look smart, where you are like last in the list, right? Where everybody else is ahead of the game. If you go somewhere where you are the smartest, then you're in the wrong place. You're not going to learn. I mean, you will learn, but you're not going to be able to stretch what you want to learn and what you want to know. And you have to pick and choose, because not everybody's going to teach you everything, and not everybody has things that you want to learn, right? So, and because I had the engineering background already, which I've been doing for the 15 odd years, it was easier for me to pick up data science, machine learning, data engineering, and all the data related stuff, because then I only had to learn the techniques, because I could learn the tools really quickly, right? I didn't need to learn programming languages or programming, or I mean, yes, I had to learn, but not from scratch. I had to learn the techniques of data, learn the techniques of machine learning. But all of that I did is I applied myself, just like Bruno has been describing for the last 10 minutes. Hands-on labs were my favorites. In fact, I ran one as well. I gave a presentation as well 2-3 years ago. There's a video online. So yeah, I applied myself, and I also gave presentations of everything that I learned. And I made all of my work available, and it's still available on GitHub. We got 1,000 plus stars on some other repository that Hugo also knows about. And now we have another repo where it's only 100 stars. Is it? Hugo, is that increased to the chatbot conversation? I have lost count of it. But so point is not about getting stars.
23 stars.
23 stars. Oh, 1/5 of what I said. Okay. Never mind. It's not about the stars. It's about getting your work across to the world, so they benefit from it. They see value in it. They replicate it. And a lot of people have actually seen that work and actually taken inspiration from it and done other things. And I get invites for various things: to write a book, to review their books, or to present at their forums, or write a blog post on. So this has all come about because of all the seeds you sow by doing all the things that I did, that Bruno also explained. Because when you're out there doing and applying yourself, whether right or wrong, eventually it all grows into something good and big. So that's a kind of a philosophical answer, maybe, to the question, how do you become an AI developer? You don't have to mechanically do it. You got to do it exactly how Bruno has been describing, and use the details that I've just described, put them together, and you're on the right path. So
But,
hence, I asked Bruno for the answer, because who better than Bruno could answer something where it is It has more to do with mentoring and guidance. Sorry, Pedro, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I'm about to ask a question. I think it's a newbie question, but it's something that I really struggle with. You say you are an AI developer, and when we are like go to courses and see, and we say we this, uh, can you tell me a little bit the difference between these three, like the data engineer or data scientist or AI developer?
So they are all interchangeable in some sense, but AI is the most general word, right? And it has been there for a long time because that's what people would emulate, refer to something that was not natural intelligence, but that was also showing intelligence. Whereas when you say things like data science, machine learning, data analytics, or what were the other things you mentioned? You did say some other things as well, right?
Yeah, data science, data engineering, and AI developer, like in they looks three different roles, but
It,
it
it,
looks like they have similarities.
yeah, they might be overlapping. So let me put this out like this: an AI developer may or may not be working with data purely. An AI developer would be doing, again, this is very subjective. Everybody will interpret it differently. But the way I look at it is, when you say I'm an AI developer, I mean there is no such term, but it could also mean that you're writing a lot of algorithm and you're using data that you may have not specialized in, but you must have collected it, and you're going to use that data into your application and make use of the data to write your application. So, for example, if you really look at some of the AI models from the past, you'll see they'll be like huge nested if this value is greater than that, and small. And even if now, if you take an AI model, like a machine learning model, and there are applications to convert that model into code, pure code, and I can share the details of it later on. That will show you the whole model, and it'll be a huge file, megabytes, and all you'll see is if then all the way around. So when you pass in data into it, it gets filtered through all those gates and comes out through the right gate, and that's where you get your answer. So when you get a weird answer like 0.53231, is because one of those if then else's has turned out to be true, and it has exited the loop, or they exited the branch, and that's where you get the answer. So that someone who would manually do that, which is what used to happen in the past, that is AI developer. Okay. And okay, people might quote me wrong for it, but this is one example of it. Right. And in the past, people did it. If you look at very old C, C++, or BASIC, or any programs, Pascal programs that were written with AI in it, it would have this, because that's a model for me. So we all are actually AI developers, except our models are too simple. Our if statements, the if block is super small and less complicated, and it does not take into account many things that an AI developer's code would take into account. Okay. Now, when you say a data scientist and a data engineer, there are new roles that have been developed because the AI developer is so busy, and he or she has to think about so many things that cannot specialize in just understanding and learning about data. So there's another person who specializes data and understands the science behind the data, understands the statistics behind the data. See, I'm not saying the AI developer may not understand the statistics and science behind the data, but they might just spawn that task to a data scientist to do all the study with the data, and then the data scientist comes to the to another developer and gives the data to them for them to go and create. Now, in real life, this is not what's happening today. Data scientist is also an AI developer. An AI developer is also doing some data science work, right? And a data engineer has some understanding of data science, some understanding of AI, but a data engineer is mainly processing that data to help the data scientist and or the AI developer. So you see, the data engineer is more like taking the data. If it's huge, if it's not clean, if it's not consistent, it's making it all of that so that the data scientist can do proper analysis of it, and afterwards the AI developer or the software developer or whatever you want to call it takes that model or that data that the data scientist has validated, or the statistic that the data scientist come out with, and plugs that into his or her application to make their application more intelligent. So now I have segregated this into three roles, and I've kind of said some things that are not fully true, because in every organization there are different titles, but they do mostly similar things. In some organizations, they hire a data scientist and they expect them to do data engineering and DevOps and other things. In some organizations, they have a data engineer and they'll have to do some machine learning as well. right? So this title is really what everybody interprets, and their idea of what they should do is sometimes different. So, but my understanding of what they're doing based on my experience, again, the industry takes it differently. Yes, there's a lot of ambiguity in these titles. I
And
hope that
yeah,
answers your question. Sorry, you go
For
on.
sure, for sure.
yeah, those are definitions that is very close to what I see also in the where I work. And actually, one thing that people ask it to me also. I just want to say a quick hello to Mario. I see he's waving hands here. And one question that I got here is about the courses that people can actually go after to learn AI. They're also worried, concerned about the deepness of these courses if they because a lot of them gives you this A to Z, become a master in AI in a very short time, and it probably not goes to the foundations, but in the end, it does actually the really necessary for the role, for the task. What is your point of view about it? I have one point of view, but I want to hear from you guys what you think about.
Anybody wants to take a jab at it, Pedro? I think I should give you more chance to talk. I use up a lot of bandwidth here when I explain. So why don't you start off? Maybe Hugo, you can join, and Bruno and I will follow on after that.
Well, yeah, actually, I do see a lot of advantage when you have an academic background when we talk about AI, because it really has much more deeper knowledge behind it. So if you have some of these understanding, I see also in where I work, if you have a master's or anything else that can actually show up your skills on this path, it's really appreciated, and you have much more opportunity with that. But also grabbing those what Manny and Bruno already said about the experience that you create. That counts a lot. Maybe you don't have the academic background, but you are able to solve problems and help people with real problems. And I just want to grab this opportunity to actually, and best way to create those projects or participating projects like an AI project, and you are not on the field yet, is finding some open source project like we did here. Money just shared with me the chatbot conversation. It is an open source project that we created. Money created it first, and I give some help with support of that. And actually, the purpose behind it is to help people experimenting, creating some other chatbots here, and aggregate with their experiments, so you can actually see how it works behind and bring your own. If you can connect a ChatGPT here, it would be awesome. We'll be very happy and willing for help with that. So that's a really good way to actually create your experience. If you are not yet, you don't have all these backgrounds. So that's my point. If those courses actually help you to create to help someone with some real problem, I think that counts a lot.
Yeah, I think that every time you participate in open source projects, it's really helpful, right? Because it's a way for you to learn on a real world thing with other people. You can do small things, and because it's a project, other people are doing other things, so even your small thing counts, right? So yeah, that's a great invite to Hugo.
Pedro, you were going to say something.
Yeah,
Why don't you?
When I first learned about machine learning, I was thinking I say, oh, I'd like to work on that. It was 2015, and then I'm I went to a course, that Andrew Nig's course in Coursera, a fantastic one. And I said, "Oh, it is awesome. It's just lots of math and everything an engineer can like." And I say, "Okay, let's try to do something with this." And then I was working in a telecom company at that time, and when when we started discussing this, they said, "Oh, we want to bring this innovation process here in the company, blah blah blah." And then I started an innovation project, you trying to use machine learning, and the most difficult part was to find, okay, where we can apply machine learning in our case it was billing process. And they say, oh, so I think, oh, most of my job in that project was not exactly work with machine learning, was trying to uh, find different ways to help that process, that the billing process, as you can see, as you know, in telecom systems are huge, are very flexible and very complex process, and but they are like they are not but they are like I say, oh, when we create a plan, like, oh, you have 100 minutes, then you can send 100 SMS, you will pay this, so there's no much innovation on that, and then we start asking about this kind of things. Then we found to say, oh, maybe we can work in this, trying to get find if the people is not gonna pay the bills. And then we went to that path of where I can help these bills to be paid. So, well, and then we find some ways, and then after that we could like try to work on something really really interesting, but we again struggle with the data of it. So, oh, you have this idea, we want to do this, but there is no like public data to work on that. So my experience with trying to create some machine learning projects were not that good, and then I I couldn't continue, and that's what I think I say, oh, even with this kind of experience, I couldn't find much opportunities in no, and not if we're not talking about big companies like Google or Amazon, everyone, it's difficult to find opportunities to work on artificial intelligence or machine learning in other companies, smaller companies than that, what do you think about it? It's just it's a question. I want to because I think of the people who are software engineers like me and want to be AI developer, and they are thinking, okay, I only have opportunities that in big companies, or can I try it? There is another company that I can get this kind of opportunities.
So yeah, it's a. I mean, also going back to what Hugo said, and then also I will plug in what you're saying, Pedro. Is firstly, doing a course. I've done them as well, but it's still only a starting. Just like it's just getting warmed up, right? It's not really running the 100 meters or the marathon or the 200 meters. Yeah, but what Bruno said about really getting a hands-on experience, and hence, whenever I was learning in my days, which is not long ago, which is only like 3 or 4 years ago, a little bit more than that, I always stuck to practical angles. If anybody ran a hackathon or a hands-on session or a study group that was practically driven, I would be there. You would find me there. But if someone gave a talk, yes, sometimes once in a while it's good to go and listen to someone talk, unless they showed something that was practical. It's a theoretical talk is only entertainment, right? Because you're not really applying yourself. You have to really apply yourself in this subject because you have to talk to people get their insights. Everybody's experience counts. Everybody's done things differently. Some mistakes you make, somebody else doesn't make, so you tell them how to fix it, and vice versa. The knowledge exchange, all of that is countless. You may not get that in a course, because the course will be, here's the subject, some slides, here's the material, go read it. That experience is like a small drop in the ocean, right? Compared to what, when you now go to a company, coming back to Pedro's answer, now depending on the company you go to, the expectations will change, right? So in some companies, they'll be like, yeah, we have some AI, they'll call it AI, but there'll be something else. But they'll expect certain experience from you. But if you go to like a top-notch company, and we've named a bunch of them today already this evening, they will expect you to know, like, super, like, they'll expect you to be super smart in that topic, because they have a team of super smart people, and they would like you to be in alignment with them. So then you need to have that kind of experience, which means if you really check on any one of the average experiences of their team, you will see that you'll have to at least meet that, because otherwise you're not going to be able to compete. Hence, they may not want to take someone on board that doesn't blend with that experience that they're expecting. There's all those kinds of things to consider, and hence it's a complicated subject in itself. But if you have that experience, you have the rigor, and if you've been going to all these different, at least in today's time, we have the opportunity to go to various community events, interface with communities, then people automatically find out about your capabilities way before you're going to be applying to their company, right? Because they actually scan the market, they scan the community to see who are the bright bulbs or the bright sparks in the community, and they'll absorb you way before you want to even think of applying with them. And I have had some of these experiences in the past, and I know of others as well. I think our good friend EL, he's been here a number of sessions ago, and he's got a data scientist role at a very popular, well-known company, and because there were these various community involvements and his personal experience. So that's kind of what the two need to strike nearly close enough for the match to happen. Is what the way I'm thinking about it. Hopefully that answers your question, Pedro, and I hope I have been able to cover a little bit of what you said, Hugo, earlier about the course, and it being just a starting fluid, like to get things warmed up. But then comes all the rigor that you have to put in, because you have to see the other side, what the company expects from you and what they want you to do.
Yeah, and in terms of companies, right? The last thing that Pedro said, right? What kind of companies you can work on? I think that a few years ago, when artificial intelligence was just starting, I think that the positions were in companies that were kind of on the bleeding edge, right? They're really experimenting. But today, man, every
Yeah.
single company. Actually, I my suggestion, the way I think all the time is that the best way for you to grow in your career is where you are right now. You can always move, right?
Mhm.
But right now, where you are right now, that's where people trust you. That's where people know how capable you are, right? That's where you can really suggest something and make something happen very fast, right? And so lots of
Mhm.
people say, "Oh yes, I need to. I want to be I don't know, maybe a data scientist or an AI developer or whatever, right? So, or a Java developer, whatever it is." People, I always think that if I get a job in another company, right, that will consider me that, right. So then I learn, I study, I do a lot of that, and then I move to another company that because my company doesn't allow me to do that or something. But in reality, it's a lot harder for you to get this other job, right, than if for you to do something here where you are, right. So
Mhm.
look around, see what can you do right here, right now, where you are, right.
Mhm.
Implement something, suggest a pilot project, suggest an experiment, go teach something to your colleagues, do a tool that your colleagues could work with. I know there's so many things you can do right now, right here, and if you can show the validity of that, then what happens that you might even get paid to do that inside your company. and then you get the experience, and then you might move. So a good example of that I always think about is Rodrigo Moutinho, right? So when Rodrigo was working for his company, his company was they're not doing any sophisticated things, anything like that. But he got tired of every time that he wanted to test their software, right? He needed to recreate the database and all that, and they would ask him, so take a look at the problem of this customer here, and the customer had a specific version of the software, a specific version of the database, so he had to recreate all that, and sometimes it took a week for him to prepare the environment to find the problem, right? And so instead of waiting his company to start doing automation like this, he did it, right? So he helped his own work, right? So he automated the process of creating a test database and the right version of the software. He used containers for that. I mean, he did all that. That was not what his company was doing, right? No one told him to do that. They were against his doing that, but that made his job easier. And when he did that, everyone's like, man, this is awesome, right? This saves us so much time. Can you teach other people in the group to do the same thing that you're doing, right? And so a lot of times we can do things for us. So that's what I would say. In your company right now, what can you do? What is a small thing that you can do? Because every single company will need some kind of artificial intelligence, some kind of data science. It might not be, the Google level data science, right? It might not be, the Netflix type of artificial intelligence, but they will need something. So you can get the experience right now. So I know, although I know that there are many companies that you could try to be hired for, Pedro, but I think that if you can think about something inside your company right now, that's the quickest way to actually make this a reality.
Yeah, that's a spot on answer, simply because data is the next web that every company must have. Just like every company in the year 2000, around that time or before that, was told, if you're not on the internet, you're not on the web, you're not visible.
That's right.
Right? Something in those lines. I think you know this, Bruno, right?
Yeah.
Same statement, just the nouns have changed. Instead of web.
If you don't have a website, right? If you don't have a website, you don't exist, right?
Exactly. Instead of a web, you say data, you say machine learning, you say AI, all those are variants of the same word. If they don't exist in your plan for the next 1, 3, and 5 years, forget about 3 and 5 years, in the next 1 year, then it's terrible times for, and you can see that how companies are going helter skelter, right, left, and center, to even introduce a little bit of data science, machine learning, AI into their product, services, whatever you call it, simply because of this thing. So, which means the opportunity is right where you are. Exactly what Bruno said. Right. Because if you try to go to someone like Netflix and try to do that, the competition is fierce, right? Because their requirements are also top notch. Whereas if you are trying to do something in your company, as Bruno said, yay, there is trust, there's credibility, the business, and the level of expectation and the forgiveness level will be higher, the level of expectation will be relatively lower. And then that would rise as your experience increases, right? But till then, you're going to be, getting the opportunity to flex your muscles and become better.
Right.
Great. And and I think we are close to the end of the. Actually, we already passed 1 hour of session, so I think it's a good time to do our traditional sharing books titles and to our audience. And yeah, if you for our audience, if you have any question, there's still time for that. And yeah, while we are sharing our book, so who wants to start with the book?
I'm going to be redundant and say the same book that I had suggested or somebody else had suggested a long time ago, but it can never usually be an old book, because it's always a book you would like to refer to if you're a developer. And the applause goes to Bob Martin, Clean Code.
Great.
And this applies to the data science and machine learning world as well, because it is also highly recommended because they are also writing code, they're also writing software, where you got to follow these clean code principles.
Good. It's always a great title for every developer or anyone that is in the IT field, right? I see Pedro.
Yeah.
Who,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
I want to share this book here. This is not a technical book. This is a book for small stories, and but this is a fantastic one. Like all these stories are very well written. They it's a very prized book. People, it's a book that was is already renowned. So, but I thought I just read it, and I say, oh, this is amazing. I think it's if you wanna not take a technical book for now and want a fantastic book to read it for literature. This is a good one. Stories of Your Life and Others. Stories of Your Life is the story that was based that movie called The Arrival. You don't remember Arrival, the movie, and this is the story that movie was based. So it is fantastic book, and I suggest you to read it if you want. If you just in the moment you have like you wanna pleasure time, not getting technical things. So
More relaxing moments.
relaxing, yeah.
Great. Before going forward with the books, I forgot to let me share here. Money just shared the Arrival movie, right? So let me share here. This year, in the beginning of this year, I don't know if all the audience did see it, but we created this new mascot for the out of the box developer, and we are struggling. We are struggling with the name for it. The story behind it is that I tried to teach Dali what is the out of the box developer and to create me a mascot, and it just create this creepy thing. But actually, at least I became a little bit close to
Attached.
attached. I got attached to the drawing, and I just used it as our new mascot here. Uh, I just know he is the box breaker, but I don't have the name yet. So if any of you audience have some suggestion, yeah, please tell us. It will be awesome to have some ideas. I tried also ChatGPT to give some good ideas, but he failed on this test. So yeah, I hope human forces to actually create a great name for it. and and from my side, I would like to share that I always, when topics come to AI, I always like to share the Yuval Harari's 21 lessons for the 21st century. It's always a good thing to actually think about the future of AI. It's interesting point of view, and yeah, I always like to talk about it. So I think Bruno, do you have a book today?
Yeah, so I wanna talk about a book that it has a little bit to do. It's this book has been published a few years ago. Let me see how old the book is. It's from 2009, right? So it's like that's 10 years ago, right? So, but I think it's still very valid, right? Because on this book's called Free, the future of so it's Free, the future of a radical price, right? And why I think this book is relevant for this conversation, because Chris Anderson talks about how things are getting cheaper, right, and how you actually can you can start making free things, right? And one of the things that he previewed that he predicted in his book, right, is that the price of storage is going to go down, the price of processing is going to go down, and that would allow all kinds of new business, right? And so he predicted all the freemium solutions and how many things you could get for free, all of that. And so the ideas behind the things that we do, that we get so many things for free, right? So you guys are watching this conversation here for free, right, on YouTube, right, and many other places. And why, just a few years ago, streaming a conversation like this was extremely expensive, right? I remember when Sun was doing something like that, Sun paid, a gazillion, right, to get those things going, right, worldwide. So now we can just do this for free. And why, right? Why can we do this for free? It's because, it's free for them almost, right? Because, and that's where I think artificial intelligence is right now, right? Because storage becomes so cheap, we can actually do the things that we've been talking about, artificial intelligence, for many years. And so I think that's an interesting book that talks about the why this happens, and what kind of experiments have been done, and not only on the digital side, but on the real side, and on how people can actually make things for free. And so I think that's a very valid book, because a lot of things you're going to read in it already happened, right? But a lot of things of it was predictions. But it's very interesting that you have this mindset of, how can I make things easier, cheaper, faster for my customers, and how can I make money out of that, right? Because that's the whole idea. So I like this book.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks you. Nice share, Bruno.
So I think that's all for today, and I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope you got excited to, if you are looking to become an AI developer, you got excited with it, and some of those tips help you with this journey. So I want to thank. Yeah.
Let me just say the last thing, right? So if you are, unfortunately it's in Portuguese, but if you are in Brazil and you want to join me on Monday, I'm going to be running this hands-on lab for Oracle, where we're going to do, it's going to be a 3-hour hands-on lab, focus on giving you the right skills for each to do artificial intelligence and data science. And if you like soccer, man, that's a match made in heaven, right? So you're going to do all this doing something that you like. So I see you Monday. Hope to see you there.
Do you have some link or something, Bruno, that we can share here?
I'm sure there's a link. Yes. So say something while I'm trying to find a link here.
Okay. So what? Yeah. I don't know what money. What do you have some last words here to share to everyone?
We can see clearly Hugo, and that's understandable, is running a little bit out of words, because he's been running the whole show since the beginning. And actually, we must raise a toast to Hugo, and also Pedro. Pedro is a new joiner, but Hugo's been there for nearly 9 months, a bit less maybe, or a bit more. And he is really caught up to speed with the style of the out-of-the-box developer sessions. I remember Bruno used to be running this along with me early 2022, and now it's Hugo who took over midway, and I think he's running the marathon. It's a triathlon or whatever that race is called, which goes for many other kilometers. And he's been doing that, and he's doing a great job. Like, every month, every week, it's like better than the previous one. Like, he's come up with this mascot. He's come up with quite a few things that you don't know behind the scenes that we know about. So soon you will find out. And a lot of that will be creations from Hugo. But it has been driven by none other than his mentor. Is that right? His mentor is sitting just on the other screen. And so applause to Bruno. He does all the button pushing, and the actions come out from the side. So
actually not. No. So let me be very, very clear here. So, me and you, we started that. We kind of inspired and we helped Hugo, but, Hugo's running the whole thing. I'm not pushing anybody.
Oh, great.
It's the other way around. Hugo's the one that lassos me and brings me here, right? So.
Okay. Great. That's good to know that our actions led to inspiring someone else to take and run with it. Like, I wasn't expecting it. We weren't even planning for it, right? It was just going to be
Right.
2 of us, and we would have guests. But now it's become 4 and 5 sometimes. So that's really great progress, I think, in the last 9 months. And we haven't been even doing it full time. Sometimes we even missed it to once a month, or sometimes we didn't have it in a month. And despite that, it was all great stuff.
Right. So yes, I totally agree with you, Manny. That's awesome, right? So one thing that I think all of us should be inspiring other people is that, and that you should do in your career, right? Is for you to get this independence, right? This autonomy, right? That you can start doing things because you want to do them, doing things that could be should be in your work, should be in your life, right? So the more autonomy, the more responsibility, the more independence that you build around you, right? Me and Pedro, we had an awesome conversation yesterday about independence, about autonomy, and so I think that this is the thing, and what you're saying here, Manny, is that Hugo is actually doing this, right? He's taking over, right? So, and that's great, right? Because the more autonomy you have, the more responsibility you have, the more everyone around you, just kind of let you do things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think that's the important thing. That's what open source is, right? If you go there and you do things, then people give you things to do, and they trust you. But if you just keep there waiting, well, if they need, that's for me. The one thing that, for example, someone is having a problem, right? And then you come in and say, if you need help, you call me, right? That's kind of saying, look, do it by yourself, right? Because I'm not going to help you, right? Because if you have to create that barrier, that if the person needs help, they need to care to call you. So you got to do the other way around. You gotta go and do and help, right? So it doesn't help if you come to an open source project. Hey guys, I'm here available to help, right? If you have anything for me to do, let me know. It doesn't help, right? You got to go and do something, and then you might think,
exactly.
But there's nothing that I know. Okay, so go do whatever you know, right? Go answer questions for beginners. Go clean the floor if you can. I mean, go do something to show that you are there to help. And once you do that, everything changes because people are just going to let you do, right? So that's what happened with Hugo, right? Hugo did not say, hey, can I help? He just came in and he started doing it, and then he took it over, right? Actually, I'll tell you one thing, Manny, that you might find funny, but that's true. When I'm going to use my account, we're using Restream to transmit that. When I'm going to use my account for Restream, I ask Hugo, he's using it. So
he's using it more than you are using it.
Yeah,
he's getting more value from it than you are.
Right. So that's great. That's what taking over means, right? You go do it, and you take your space, right? You position yourself, and that's a great thing, right?
I think we'll need to ask Hugo for access rights on many of those assets he has created.
Right. Yes, exactly. Everything's on his now, right? Yes. Okay. So I'm just gonna put here the link. I was thinking about here, and there's a live hands-on lab on Monday, but we're here speaking in English, and there's lots of people in English. So what I'm doing, I'm gonna put here is the actual hands-on lab in English that you can run by yourself, right? So you can just go to that page. All the information is there. The step-by-step is there. So even if you don't come on Monday, you can always come and do by yourself whenever you want. And you're going to have access to some cool tools and everything. So just go there and do what you need to, and go learn, right? That's great. Okay, guys, thanks.
Good.
Thank you, Bruno.
Great. So if you are interested, just click the link and register here. And yeah, I think that's all for today. And
wait, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Come on, guys, help us out. Subscribe to the channel. Put a like there, right? I know I'm not one that says this a lot, right? But this channel is just starting, right? And so it has to have its own life. It has to have its own. So if you like this conversation, if you want to participate, just give a quick like there and subscribe to it. Then you're going to be notified next time we do this, and then we can have better conversation because you're going to be part of that.
Yes, sure. Great to remind it. Yeah, please. We are just starting, and there is lots of things that we want to do here. And yeah, we'll be very happy to hear your questions and actually answer them. So I think that's it. So yeah, see you in the next session. Bye bye.
See you. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.